Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello, everybody. Today I'm interviewing Lorraine Brock, professional organizer, family coach, speaker, and the founder and president of Get Organized, a Dallas-based professional organizing company that specializes in residential business organizing services and offers educational presentation on organizing all areas of life. Get Organized actually launched in February 2007 with Lorraine and one of her best friends. They actually conquered clutter together for a year, until Lorraine found new organizers for a growing company. Welcome, Lorraine. Thank you for being here today.
Awesome. I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Super. Before we get into your business, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. I am a domestic engineer. I've been married 27 years and have 3 boys, with my youngest being 19. And my history as far as employment have been in the banking industry. Many times I've served on my husband's company as HR personnel, and we've started a lot of entrepreneur companies with him, and I've taken a lot of those skills and now applied them into my own life.
Interesting. And what led you into professional organizing?
Well, I guess when my youngest son was in the middle of his 5th grade year, so he's about 12, I started having just a flood of friends, especially friends with some family, asking if I could help get them organized. And this had sort of been a pattern through many years, but really just came to a head when the stuff a lot in my mind came into, like, well, my friends are asking me, if my family's asking me, why couldn't I do this as a business? So I ended up starting Get Organized from the fact that people just kept saying I was very good at it, and would I be able to do it for them? And I said, well, why not start a business and make money from it as well?
There you go. And let's just talk about your attributes and the traits. So what about those attributes that contributed the most to your success? And do you think you developed those over the years, or is this something you went in with?
Well, I think they were developed, and I think they early in my childhood, I think my parents, with any parent role, they play a huge role in developing your kids' confidence level, their self-worth. My family, my parents taught me that we had to work hard. I had garden responsibilities and planting, and we lived in the city, but we had an empty lot next door, and we would have to go plant a garden, or I would have to have regular chores around the house. And my dad was a really, not a workaholic, but he had great work ethics. And I think that built in me over the years. My dad has great organizational skills, but he uses things like duct tape. We do a little bit more modern look, but that's where it's originally instilled. But then I think as I grew up, I think one of the things is I get things done. When I say I'm going to do them, I give myself a goal and I get them done. And I'm careful not to or underestimate how long something's going to take. I won't put too much on my plate so it overwhelms me, but I know I'm only just put enough, and I leave a great balance of there. Not a lot of time is spent trying to, chasing my tail and trying to keep up with the Joneses. I really put what I can do, and I aim to get that done.
Awesome. And can you give some specific examples that when these qualities actually played a role in your succeeding?
Well, probably, it sounds really strange, but probably these attributes started happening early on when I was going into my probably my high school years. I was very much always looking at ways to be creative and to make income, and I would start small businesses and start, just trying to get that income coming in and trying to meet where the need was in the community I lived in. As I got older and I had children and got married, a lot of those attributes started showing themselves when I had to be very resourceful in running and managing my own home. And then through the times my husband has had, a lot of entrepreneur businesses that he started, I think what ended up happening is I was needed in a role, and I had to figure out a solution to actually be of service to him in his company, whether that was, and I had no HR experience, but I just went and I studied. I did it. I figured out how to do it. So, I took ownership of things. I didn't wait for someone to spoon feed me, so to speak.
Nice. Well, one thing that comes to mind when we talk about success, though, is that it rarely happens, in a straight line. There's always some ups and downs. Can you talk about some of these adversities or trials you had to overcome to achieve your goals?
Sure, and you're right. You're absolutely right. There is not a straight line to this. I think part of the challenges and adversities that I had to overcome, and I have to say up front, there wasn't a whole lot. I mean, my journey has been very easy compared to what I've known of others. But there were some. Part of that is I came from a role of being a housewife and a mom into this business owner situation, and I had to learn to balance that all and still carry that role that was my primary role because my husband worked full time. He was the main breadwinner of the home. So trying to find that balance, I think, a lot of working moms have to do that. But when this is my primary role and I'm adding something to it, we had a shift in our family. So the kids they were older, they took on more responsibility. But from a business standpoint, I think hiring people that are better than myself in some areas to actually take over some of the responsibilities on me has been something that I have to look for. I need people that can do things that I can't do, and I have to give up some of that responsibility because they can do it better, they can do it more efficient, get it off my plate, and ultimately my business will grow because of that if I heed to that rule.
Good. That's great advice. Although you said that you didn't have that many pitfalls, when you did hit some roadblocks, what kept you going despite these obstacles?
Well, I don't know. I really can't pinpoint exactly what one thing kept me going other than I know that I knew at the time that I had those pitfalls, and a lot of them were in the proper advertising of finding what worked out there. I knew if I was already making revenue for my company, and I had no educational experience, and I was a rookie at this, and I just kept moving forward and kept learning. I knew eventually that as a professional, as really one that was real well educated in what I was doing, there's no reason I couldn't continue to build that revenue. The problem was that I needed to find the right ways to advertise what our company did. And I had no advertising experience. I had no marketing experience. And, obviously I'd never had owned a business before in my life. I've helped my husband, but in a total different industry, a total different budget that they had to operate with for advertising. I'm working on just starting a couple $100 a week that I had to advertise and to run my business. And that's not a lot of money when you're first starting out.
No.
So, because of that, I had to find very creative, low cost, no cost ways to advertise. And it took some trial and error and some wasted money. But ultimately at the end, I think we're doing great with the decisions that we made.
Interesting. And speaking of that, now that you've become a pro at this, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Well, I would like to move into the Oklahoma area. We have originally started in the Dallas area, more the Plano, Richardson area, and we have expanded now all to out the DFW. So we encompass even in Mineral Wells on the other side of Fort Worth. We're in as far south as Lancaster. We service all those areas. We recently in the last year added East Texas, which is Tyler area. And what I'd like to do once Tyler gets a little bit more established is move up into the Oklahoma area. There's not a lot of competition there, and there's really nobody that really services a lot of that area on the Red River. And I'd like to find someone that can take that area and grow it, a little bit like a franchise affiliate program, and just continue to spread out a little bit further than just the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
And in terms of developing these markets, do you have any idea how you're going to market this?
Well, that's very unique in every situation. For example, in the East Texas area, you cannot charge the exact same rates that you charge in the DFW. Smaller communities, smaller, demographics are different. And we have to do some research with that. There is some set ways that I totally think we can do that, doing the model that we have now. But a lot of the ways that we advertise and get started is that I first started using is the same principles that we're going to still do, trying to find low cost, no cost ways to doing it. I do a lot of public speaking. So I envision moving a lot more public speaking out of the Texas area, going into other states and marketing there. You can market as simple with a PTA program to, a chamber of commerce in that area, just to get before people and talk about, in my case, how to get their home business and life organized. So we're going to use that same model and plunge into Oklahoma.
Good idea. Now, if we talk about your clients in particular, what's the main problem or the one common problem you see among them?
Wow, that's a good question. I would say the number one problem is time management. And most of the time, they do not even realize that. They have made the phone call or the leap of getting organized because of maybe a cluttered desk or a cluttered closet, or their home entirely is cluttered. But they don't see with the same set of eyes that we come in and see. We see overcommitment. We see lack of time management. Now, not in all cases, but in many cases, that's the situation where they've tried to have the world and do it all, and their home and their families and their relationships end up suffering. And normally clutter is a byproduct of other things that's going on. And in many cases, it's poor time management. They just do not understand the difference between planning to do something and scheduling it, which is two vastly different things.
Mm-hmm. Makes total sense to me. What are some common misconceptions your clients have about making changes? Because making change is a tough thing for most people, right? It
is. A lot of times they view it as like the TV shows, Clean Sweep, where they'll, you start the episode and you have this cluttered home and, you have conflict in the home. And 30 minutes, an hour later, their life is totally bliss and the home is completely organized. I don't think that they realize how much effort that what length of time it took to get where they're at. It definitely doesn't take as long to dig out of it, but many times some of these decisions can be emotional. It can be overwhelming. And sometimes they do know that that's going to go along with it, but they sometimes think the process is going to happen a little bit quicker than it does. And in many cases it can, but we want to teach them. We want to teach them to stay organized. We want to teach them to use the systems that they love from the beginning of our relationship, that they said they'd like to implement in their lives for their home, maybe a paper management system. And then, that's going to take time to learn those things and to create new habits. And so I think the change they want immediately, but really for long-term success, that's not going to be the case. It will happen much quicker than they got there, but sometimes not as quick as they want.
Mm-hmm. Can you give some examples of how people have benefited from being more organized?
Sure, absolutely. I think the family life will definitely improve your home life. Your home becomes a haven for, just relaxing in the evening, walking into a home that doesn't immediately bring you anxiety and stress. That is a huge issue. Some people want to buy another home and get a bigger home because they're outgrowing the current home that they're in. And really, if they just reduce the clutter and got organized. Just organizing alone and maximizing the space in your home can create about 20-25% more storage space that you probably were not utilizing to begin with. And so many times a move is way more costlier than hiring an organizer, and you really haven't outgrown your home. It's just we need to make some decisions and maximize that space. So, those are two really good examples of how our clients have really benefited, both on, the moving, having to eliminate a move and having to eliminate some of that stress in their home by getting organized.
Very, very intriguing when you say that you could probably not need to move. You probably have more space than you think. So that's awesome.
Right. That's right. Exactly.
But before we wrap it up, Lorraine, what one piece of advice could you give to someone who wants to start to get better organized, but doesn't really know where to start?
Well, the first thing I would do is a lot of people, if you're looking at organizing a cluttered space, like a cluttered office, let's say, I would not sit there and look at every piece of paper and every piece of notepads in your office and say, do I want to keep this? Do I not? I don't want you to have a reunion with your clutter, so to speak. What I want you to do is just go in there and start sorting like items together. Notepads with notepads, pen and pencils with pen and pencils. You know, it's hard to make decisions on what you want to keep if you really don't know how many of those items you really have. You're more likely to give up some of your notepads when you put them all together from conventions and, you know, little favors at Chamber of Commerce meetings and all these things that you collect over the years at the state fair. When you realize you have 45, you know, notepads in your home, do you really need 45? You're more likely to give some up. So I would suggest not making decisions on everything that you touch at first. Just sort like items together. And in a cluttered space, that's the first step you need to start doing for getting organized.
Nice advice. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that we could talk about, obviously, but what if our listeners wanted to learn more? How do they get in touch with you or actually visit our website, I guess? Or can you give us some more information about that? Yeah.
Absolutely. Our website is getorganized.ws. It's not .com. It's .ws, and that stands for website. And they can go out there, and there's a contact button at the top right, and they can email us, and we monitor that 24/7. Someone's always responding to that, and they can send in an inquiry in of, you know, if it's a speaking engagement, if they need, you know, to come speak at, or if it's actually physical services, they can inquire through that same link.
Awesome. I, for one, will definitely go and check it out because I could use a little organization on my desk for sure. That's what my wife said.
We will get you organized.
Thank you so much, Lorraine. I really, really appreciate you taking the time to share these stories with us. This was very enlightening. And like I said, I look forward to learning more by going to your website. So once again, a huge thank you, Lorraine, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.